And as these little clips indicate, and we all know from our experience and intuition, there are a lot of things that customer ratings and reviews play a very important role in our businesses. They can lead us to high heights, they can take us to great lows, depending on the types of reviews that our businesses are receiving. Just skip ahead here. And of course, negative reviews are disappointing. They can hurt us and they're costly. We've felt the effects of these sometimes immediately when a review is placed online for our business, and sometimes those things can escalate quickly and stimulate conversations that take discussions about our businesses into places that we really wish they wouldn't. But is the answer to that cutting off review sites or trying to prevent them somehow from sharing that information? Certainly not. And we're going to unpack some of that this afternoon and talk about exactly what we can do and what we should do to make sure that we're using ratings and reviews to our advantage. Some of the outcomes we'll experience in our presentation this afternoon is we're going to help you get more positive customer reviews and fewer negative ones. We'll also teach you how to properly deal with the negative ratings and reviews. And those are just a part of our business. We need to figure out how to live with those in our business ecosystem rather than try to ignore them or downplay them. And finally, we'll learn how to turn poor customer ratings into satisfied, loyal customers. So these are a few of the most popular restaurant review sites, specifically in the restaurant space. And we're familiar with most, if not all of these. But the important things to focus on within this generally are these three sites: Facebook, Google, and Yelp, which collectively account for 60% of all restaurant reviews that are taking place online today. So we're going to focus in on talking in particular about Yelp, but as you think about where to go to monitor ratings and reviews, you should keep Google and Facebook in mind as well. The others are less important for most businesses, but depending on your business and the nature of your specific clientele, you may find that some of those other sites play an important role for you as well. One thing I want to point out, and this is interesting research that affects Yelp predominantly, but also the other rating sites as well, is that they have an unfair advantage in that the courts, in the case of Yelp, have specifically ruled that Yelp has no obligation to display positive reviews. And we'll talk about some of the implications of that on this and the next slide. A few years later, just last year, a separate court ruled that Yelp cannot be ordered to remove negative posts. So there's really nothing we as businesses can do to affect what Yelp decides to do with the ratings that are placed on its site. Interesting excerpt from these excerpts at the bottom are both from the 2014 case. The first one, one plaintiff, Boris Levitt, owner of a furniture restoration business in San Francisco, said several 5-star ratings disappeared from his Yelp page 2 days after he refused to buy ads. So if you think about the implications of that, I think they're really summed up in that quote from Lawrence Murray, the attorney for Mr. Levitt in that case. This really amounts to extortion on Yelp's part, because they have no obligation to display positive reviews, which means they can willfully remove positive reviews when they choose to do so. At the same time, they have no obligation at our request or anyone's request to remove negative posts. So they really control what the sum total of reviews on the sites that bear our business's names represent. So we're in a very unfair situation. One particular business owner located in San Francisco decided to fight back against Yelp. And if you search for this online, look for Botto Italian Pizza Bistro, you can find articles about this and links to some of the court cases. But this gentleman, of course, thought it was extremely unfair that Yelp could force him, seemingly, to buy advertising by removing the positive reviews and thereby letting his Yelp page load up with negative reviews. So he flipped the table on this one and incentivized his guests to leave shining 1-star reviews. And we can see an excerpt of some of these here. And if you go on their Yelp page for Botto Italian Pizza Bistro, you'll see many, many, many reviews just like this, where he's clearly got a 1-star review, but the reviews are anything but negative. They're all very, very positive. He did that by offering a discount on pizzas. If you leave him a 1-star good review, he'll give you a discount on pizza when you come into his restaurant. Is that the way we suggest doing it? Probably not. It seems to have drawn some attention for this person. He got some national recognition out of it, but I think that's not what we'd call the tried, tested, and true approach to fighting back against Yelp and others who are controlling the ratings for our stores. So how do we respond to these things? The first section, we'll talk a little more about how to get more customer feedback in general, and that really is the starting point, is to figure out how to get more customers to leave you ratings and reviews, whether positive or negative, and then figure out how to deal with the negative ones from there. So let's move that direction. So the key really is something we've probably heard over and over again, and that is make it easy for customers to express themselves. The easier we can make it for them to give us feedback, the more likely it's going to be that they do that. And so the starting point is really work on opening up pathways for communications with customers. As this slide points out, if they don't have a way to express their concerns, the chance that they go online and do that in a public forum in a way that could be damaging to our business is higher. Associated with that is having a fast response time. It's not enough to give them a quick way to give us feedback when they feel the need to share something with us, again, positive or negative. Fast response time can also benefit us, aside from just being the polite thing to do. It can benefit us in that a satisfactory response to a legitimate concern raised by a guest has the opportunity, in fact, a significant chance of causing that guest to revisit their rating and possibly increase the rating that they've given us by a couple of stars. And so the ability to receive feedback is one thing, but our responsiveness in reacting to that feedback is something separate but very much associated with this. How do we do that? How do we give our customers the opportunity to give us feedback in a convenient and efficient way? Offline, and do that, our trainers back and train them to watch for guests who are having either a positive or negative experience and inquire about that. Sometimes just a simple question, is everything all right? If somebody seems concerned about their experience in your restaurant, or is there anything we could have done to make your visit today more pleasant? Giving them a couple of catchphrases that they can use with guests throughout the day to encourage guests to open up and give them feedback is an excellent first start. Doesn't cost anything, it's just a little bit of training, and it helps to build that culture of caring in the restaurant where guests, whether they give you feedback or not, will leave with the expectation and the understanding that we really are interested in their business. Of course, as we've done for a long, long time now, we can provide comment cards on tables or hand them out with orders, or otherwise give our guests something physical in the store, whether it's something printed on our point of sale system receipts or other printed means, giving our guests a way to provide us written feedback. Online, of course, we want to make sure we have a contact us form on our website, asking guests to go ahead and let us know if there's anything that we could do better in our location. If we have Wi-Fi in our location, we can use the Wi-Fi landing page to request ratings and reviews. The nice thing about that is the Wi-Fi landing page is used while guests are in the location. And so if they're using your free guest Wi-Fi and they experience that Wi-Fi landing page and they see the question there and they happen to be having an exceptionally good or a particularly poor experience, they may be more likely to provide that feedback on the spot. Finally, if you have a system that can do this, you can set a trigger. In our product, Bloom Intelligence, there's what we call an upon exit trigger, which will send an email with a review request to guests after they leave the location. Most of our customers set that so that every so many visits, that request will be sent to them, perhaps every 6 visits, so that we're not asking them every single time by email and thereby forcing them to start tuning us out by over-soliciting them. But inevitably, we're going to get some ratings or reviews that provide feedback that we perhaps didn't want to hear. Maybe feedback we need to hear, but perhaps feedback we didn't want to hear. Hopefully that's feedback that we can intercept ourselves because we've given them instant feedback channels and ways that they can contact us to express their concerns or grievances directly rather than taking them to a public forum. But if they've responded in a public forum, we need to know how to deal with that. A couple interesting stats from Jay Baer, as published in Food Service Magazine. He says 38% of all customer complaints are now made on social media and review sites. That's a little more than a third of all customer complaints. And restaurants only get 14% of all complaints that customers lodge. So 14% of all complaints make it to our ears. That means 1 out of 7 guests who had a poor experience. So for every guest who complains, there are 6 others. Literally, we're experiencing the tip of the iceberg when we receive that complaint. Jay's advice, and I wholeheartedly agree, is we need to embrace these complaints as feedback and treat that feedback as a gift. We may look in the eyes of the one person who's complaining about something that they individually experienced at our location, but we need to remember that that represents the other 6 guests who may have the same concern, but that feedback didn't reach our ears. And so it really is a gift to us. It's an opportunity for us to improve our service delivery. Tara Johnson says it this way. She says, bad reviews actually give you power as a retailer. They give you an opportunity to use your brand voice to right your wrongs and deliver stellar customer service, and to do it publicly where potential customers can see it. And I'm going to touch on that in a little while when we talk about how to respond to guests online about their negative reviews. That public response is important to a point. Couldn't help but slip in a little humor here. I thought this sign was interesting. This one restaurateur decided to address his negative review head on and says, come in and try the worst meatball sandwich that one guy on Yelp ever had in his life. He's obviously attempting to point out that he thinks that person's alone in his opinion, but he tried to turn that negative review into a positive by putting this humorous sandwich board in front of his store. Whether or not you use a technique like that really depends on the culture of your business and how you want to, and the nature of your business, of course, but how you want to portray yourself to your audiences. In any event, I certainly wouldn't suggest that you adopt any one of the response types that are included on the screenshots I've included here. These ones all clearly go over the line, and not only with the customer to whom these proprietors are responding, but certainly to some unknown number of others who've seen these reviews. These can really be damaging. So how do we respond? I'll suggest that you want to respond with tact. And TACT is an acronym that I use standing for, first of all, thank them. Remember Jay Baer, you want to embrace that feedback as a gift. So you want to thank them for bringing that to your attention. Visualize not only the person complaining, but the 6 people standing behind him whose words never reached your ears. Secondly, apologize. Maybe not apologize for the way things are, but apologize that it affected that guest's experience at your location. But as much as you can own the issue that's being raised to you, and really start by recognizing that that's that person's perception, and if you value them and the 6 unknown others, then you should recognize that that perception has some reality in that guest's eyes. So thank them and then apologize either for the condition or for their experience as a result of the condition. The next important piece of the TACT flow is to continue the conversation online. And I'm going to show you some examples of actual responses where the proprietor encouraged the guest to continue to dialogue with them, but in an offline forum. And finally, treat the guest to a return visit. You want them to come back and experience the restaurant in a different way. Maybe it was an off day for your staff, your front of house or back of house staff. Something just wasn't right in the kitchen. You may have been out of an ingredient for a popular menu item, or there could have been some functional challenge in your space on that particular day. Whatever it is, you want the guest to come back and see what it means to have an experience on a day when things are functioning the way that you expect them to. Thank them, apologize, continue the conversation offline, and treat them to a return visit. Let's look at some examples of how we put those things into action. These two examples aren't specifically in the restaurant space, but I thought they were well done nonetheless. This is for an auto dealership. In the first one, we can see there's no specific thank you given, but the respondent goes directly into apologizing for the negative experience. Notice they didn't apologize for what happened. They apologized for the experience that the customer had at the location. Then they immediately move to request that the conversation be continued offline. They say specifically, if you wouldn't mind giving us a call at their number at your earliest convenience, it would be greatly appreciated. So they're trying to move the dialogue to a forum where they can have a more in-depth conversation without potentially causing any further damage in a public forum. In that particular example, there was no offer to treat them, but I'll show you some on the next screen where that was included. Second example, which is also from that same Honda dealership, we can see where they thanked them, where they apologized, where they moved to continue the conversation offline, and again, they didn't move to treat them in that example either. In these two examples, the one on the left, first of all, I think is an excellent example of really the full process of giving a good response to a bad review. So the respondent, Benjamin K. of Chef and the Farmer, thanks Kim for visiting the location. And you can thank them for visiting the location or thank them for their feedback. Either is fine, but thank them thank them as an opening to your response. Benjamin then moves to apologize. He moves to continuing the conversation offline, says, please let us know the next time you'll come through Kinston. And he could approach this in a number of ways. He could have asked them to do that. He could have asked them to call or suggested that they message him. But you want to give them the opportunity to continue that conversation in a forum that makes sense for everyone. And in this case, he also implies that there will be some remuneration is too strong a word, but that he wants to take care of them when he sees them by saying, we'd like to make sure that we exceed your expectations. So there's an implication there that perhaps he's going to take care of them when they have an opportunity to do so. In the example on the upper right, there's our thanks, there's the apology, there's the opportunity to continue the conversation offline, and there's there is no treat offered in that example. And the third and final example, we see the thanks. Thank you for taking the time to share such a detailed review about your experience. There's no specific apology. They ask to continue the conversation offline, and they imply that there may be a treat in the future by saying, please view the private message I have sent. That certainly opens the door for the possibility that that private message from Andre, the hotel manager, added some other detail and perhaps an incentive for the reviewer to return to the location, to return to that hotel. We also need a way to respond to good reviews. And that's something that we think about far less often. You know, our blood pressure raises, our heart rate quickens, we start to breathe a little more heavily when we see the negative reviews, especially if we think they're unjustified. And I hope that the tact approach that I've just shared with you will give you some tools to address those negative reviews as you encounter them. But we also need a way to address or respond to reviews that are more positive. And we can take a look at why here when we look at some of these examples and how they work. We'll follow the acronym TIME for this review sequence, this response sequence. First of all, thank them. Again, thank them for their patronage, thank them for their loyalty, thank them for taking the time to write a good review. We want to identify your business or location. Remember, this is in a public forum. This is perhaps somebody who's scrolling through a list of Yelp reviews looking for a restaurant in such and such a neighborhood. This is an opportunity for you to cement for those other guests or potential guests that you are someone that's relevant to them. So you may say something like, thank you, Polly, for providing this 5-star rating. I'm really glad that you enjoyed your experience on Friday night. As one of the premier restaurants in the Garden District, we would like to such and such. So you're identifying your business in some way by location or by the nature of your business. You know, as San Francisco's oldest flower shop, we are glad that you're identifying your business through that reference. In a related way, this is an opportunity to market just a little, and I think you'll get clarity about that when I show you the examples on the next couple of screens. We don't want to do anything here that's way too salesy, but we do want to take the opportunity to do something that can show a value proposition or evidence some compelling value to people who are considering coming to our restaurant. So we have a little opportunity to market here, and I'll show you some good examples of that in a minute or two. And finally, we want to end with a call to action or a request to become engaged, whether that's asking them a question, whether it's inviting them to come back to the location or share it with their friends. We want to stimulate and activate them a little further at this point. Remember, these people are already our advocates because they've taken the time to write us a review and give us a good rating. We just want to coddle that a little bit and allow that goodwill to carry us a little bit further. So remember time. Thank them, identify your business and or location, market to them just a little, and finally engage them. How does that work in practice? In this example, and these are short, so I'll read the whole thing. We were sitting outside and there was a bee in our honey bottle. Not a big deal, and the manager comped off half of our food, which was totally unexpected, but of course very appreciated. Great business, the food is unbelievable, and there's more to that review. The response from the owner is a fairly good one. Thank you for your 5-star review in business. And then I love this. Wow, we knew our honey was local and fresh, but that's something else. It's a pleasure to serve you. I love that because there's a certain segment of the population that really looks for local, fresh ingredients. And so they're taking that opportunity to do a little marketing plug there and identify their restaurant as a place that has that product available for patrons to enjoy. Okay? And that's what I mean by market, just a little. Here's another good example. A person went to the restaurant with her boyfriend. She says there was a small wait, but room for us at the bar to enjoy a drink before being seated. Our waiter asked if we were celebrating anything, and he bought us a complimentary, et cetera, et cetera. The response starts with a thanks. They didn't take the opportunity to identify their business or location, but they did do a good job marketing here by adding, we also offer complimentary cheesecake for birthdays with a little smiley face, letting this person and other guests know if you're celebrating your birthday, you're not only going to have a great experience at our location as this woman evidenced through her 5-star rating, but remember to let us know because we offer complimentary cheesecake. And then they do a soft call for engagement at the end here by saying, we hope to see you again soon. Okay, so a quiet call for action. When we get those negative reviews, we also have an opportunity to turn those people into lifelong customers. In fact, Jan Carlson, who was the former CEO of SAS or Scandinavian Airlines, frequently said that we only earn the opportunity to win a customer for life when the customer has experienced a problem and we have resolved it to their delight. So we only earn the opportunity to win a customer for life when the customer has experienced a problem and we have resolved it to their delight. In other words, we really want to embrace those customers that have let us know about a poor experience because they're the ones that we can turn around and through our excellent service recovery efforts have the opportunity to serve for a longer period of time. How do we do that? Remember that the TACT acronym, we finish that with treating the customers who give us a negative review. We want to incentivize them to visit us again. Now, I want to be clear here, that incentive is not one to come back and give us a better review. Research shows, on the opening slide, I shared with you some of that research. Research shows that guests who are handled in the right way can come back, and often do come back, and improve their ratings and add notes to their reviews. You know, here's a follow-up on my review. But the incentive that we provide is not for them to do that. It's simply for them to come back and experience our restaurant the way we intended for them to experience in the first place. But the essential final piece on this service recovery model is to get new feedback from those guests who've come back that second time, to make sure that we've been able to successfully increase the quality of their experience at our location. In other words, it's not enough just to give them something and then they come back and we've essentially just discounted their next meal or provided an appetizer, whatever we did. We need the feedback to know that that second experience was better than the first one. That's how we know that our service recovery efforts are working. So it's essential that we put in place systems to do that, and we'll talk about some of the ways we can do that. Within the Bloom Intelligence platform, there are several tools that can be used to handle a lot of the things that we've discussed about here. We'll take a quick look at Wi-Fi landing pages and how we can gather ratings information on the Wi-Fi landing page. We'll talk about how we analyze that information and how we can see the sum total of reviews and responses that we're getting, so we have a good sense about what's happening in that location. We'll also look at how we can send campaigns out to guests who have had a bad experience, to follow them through to see if they take advantage of the offer or incentive we've given them to come back and experience the restaurant again, and then see if their subsequent experience was better than the first. So let's just jump out briefly to the Bloom Intelligence platform and take a look at some of those things. This screen is known as the Bloom Intelligence dashboard, and it includes this heads-up summary of the number of ratings and the average rating that the location or locations has received over a period of time. So we can see for this chain, which has a collection of 31 stores, this is a mid-size US chain with 31 locations on our platform. In the last 30 days, they've received 254 ratings with an average star rating of 4.5 stars. Most of those ratings will have come from guests experiencing their Wi-Fi landing page, and the Wi-Fi landing page can contain a device that looks something like this, where a guest can provide a rating from 0.5 star to 5 stars in 0.5 star increments. They can also provide a comment, optionally, and they can provide their email address here. Our customers get to set a threshold above which, if the guest provides a rating, maybe it's a 4.5 star rating or a 5 star rating or even a 3.5 star rating, but whatever threshold our customers set, this device then, when that rating is provided, can ask the guest, it can thank the guest for their rating and then ask them if they'd like to make a public rating or review. So if we watch what's happening here, we're soliciting private internal feedback. We're giving our customers a voice, giving them the chance to express themselves to us positively or negatively, and providing an opportunity for private internal feedback before we allow them to go out to provide external feedback. In many cases, the guest who says, I really didn't have a good experience, and tells you why, will feel satiated here because they've given you the opportunity to respond to them and they've gotten that off their chest. They no longer feel compelled to go out to a public review site and leave something for others to see. That's especially true if we're quick in responding and reply to that guest to let them know that we appreciate the feedback, follow that tact structure, and handle that negative review properly. So the first aspect here is this threshold that we can set. Above the threshold, we're going to ask if they want to make a public review. Below that threshold, we not only will not encourage them to make a public review, but we'll email that feedback immediately to the local store manager to let them know that a guest has just experienced a situation that was less than favorable. Because perhaps it's something that the store manager can address in real time that can affect the quality of the guest experience for not only that guest, but other guests currently in the location. So that's the first opportunity to get feedback from guests. The next opportunity to get feedback from guests is through the marketing module in Bloom Intelligence, and we can see a couple here. Here's one of our customers, Atlanta Bread. They have a couple of ratings modules or ratings campaigns set up here. This is their initial rating, leave us a review. So all guests that come in, and they've in the last little while they've sent out quite a few of these and received quite a few reviews. But all guests that come into an Atlanta Bread location are going to be asked if their experience was a satisfactory one. Right? So they receive this by email after they've left the location. It says, your happiness matters to us. Please rate your last experience at Atlanta Bread. We'd love to hear your feedback below. So without any manual intervention on behalf of the location, guests who come in and in this case use the Wi-Fi system and have therefore identified themselves are asked to provide some feedback to the location so that the location, the chain by location can get feedback for each one of the stores that for which it's sending these ratings requests. So that's a second opportunity to receive some feedback. A third opportunity, and this one really ties into the service recovery module that we talked about. If we take a look at campaigns and set up a new campaign, we'll go this far. Actually, we'll take it a little further. So if we set up a new campaign and a promotion within that campaign to solicit ratings, what this one will do is allow you to monitor the ratings that you've received either by people going to your Wi-Fi landing page or by guests who received the email after they left. And for ratings that are below a certain threshold, this can automatically wait a predefined period of time. So in this case, I will create a ratings campaign for ratings that were below 1.5 stars. And after that guest leaves 2 hours later, we'll just move forward here. 2 hours later, they can receive a message that looks something like this. We're sorry about your bad experience. Now remember, this one is in specific response to a guest who said, hey, I had a bad experience. They gave you a rating of less than 1.5 stars. So we're sorry about your bad experience. There's the apology. Here's the treat. Okay, here's a free cookie with hope you'll enjoy. Must be redeemed in front of the cashier. And they've got this redemption button. When they come back into the location, they can present this to the cashier and one time only can click this button. And our system monitors that to make sure it's only used one time. It can only be used once. But when they click this button, they're then able to redeem that for this cookie. When they do that, in fact, whether or not they do that, our system knows that they were back in the location because they're back within range of the Wi-Fi system. So we can send them this message. Your happiness matters to us. Please review us again. So now if we think about what happened from a service recovery perspective, we sent them, they came on the premises, either on the Wi-Fi landing page or by virtue of the fact that they received an email after the fact asking about their experience and they responded to say they did not have a good experience. We received a rating of less than 1.5 stars. We then sent them that offer for the cookie. They came back to the location. Now we're automatically asking them a second time, how did we do this time? Okay, so you've got that real closed loop system there where a bad experience happened, we've incentivized them to come back, now we're asking again, how did we do? And once again, this is all private feedback. The response to this really determines whether we encourage them to make a public review or not. The same process applies. If they give us a high rating, this may carry on and say, thank you so much, would you like to make a public review on Yelp or TripAdvisor, Zomato, whatever rating site you prefer those ratings to be aggregated on. If they make a review that doesn't meet your threshold for encouraging a public review, then we'll thank them for their feedback, but not provide that link. Of course, they can still go out and make that review, but finding that and doing that is going to be up to them. And so some people may be much less likely to pursue that. So there's yet another tool in the Bloom Intelligence platform for encouraging good reviews and for automatically handling the service recovery effort for reviews that were not so good. All of the ratings in our system get aggregated in what we call the ratings module. And we can see here they come in chronologically, and you can sort them by location or name, or by the ratings received, by the comments. You can expand these and see all the detailed comments. But all of the ratings accumulate here, and they can be sifted and sorted so that you can see only the high ratings, or only the low ratings, or only ratings with comments or without comments, etc. So you have great control over seeing what kind of feedback you're getting. If you're a multiple location organization, you can see across the entire chain, across the entire network, you can see for each location what the feedback looks like. So you can really quickly and easily get a handle on which locations are successfully soliciting customers who have a better experience on average than the others. So those are some of the features in the Bloom Intelligence platform. We've looked at the dashboard and rating summary. We've talked about landing pages and the feedback that can be collected there. We've looked at the campaigns and how we can send out a message automatically after a guest visits n number of times, maybe every 6th visit, to solicit feedback. We've talked about campaigns that can be our service recovery module to turn around a bad experience and then make sure we're getting new feedback to make sure we've actually turned that experience around. And we've looked at how we capture those rating values and feedback here in this platform as well. Let me get back over to the presentation for us. There we go. So the platform, as I've pointed out, includes a landing page that can encourage customers to give you feedback while they're still in the store, can encourage those who leave good ratings to make a public review, can send feedback for negative ratings and reviews directly to our local store manager so that they can respond in real time, can automate the process of sending out review requests after a predetermined number of visits, and can automate the service recovery process so that whenever guests leave a rating below our desired threshold, we can automate the process of responding with tact. I'm not going to step through all the details in this case study, but you'll receive this because it's just too text dense and will take more time than we have allotted for our presentation today. But you'll receive this when you receive the slides, and you can see the details of a specific nationwide customer who've used our platform to accomplish some things in ratings that they hadn't actually expected to accomplish when they purchased the Bloom platform. Beyond ratings, if you're not familiar with everything that Bloom Intelligence has to offer, there really is a whole ecosystem of intelligence-related tools and marketing-related tools that comes with the platform. Ratings is just one branch of what's available in the Bloom Intelligence platform. And the ratings things are highlighted here, but again, this is another view of all of the other things that are included in the Bloom Intelligence automated marketing and analytics suite. So I thank you for your attention this afternoon. I hope that you have picked up a couple of tidbits that you can use immediately to improve your ability to, first of all, get more ratings and reviews, which again is the essential starting point. Secondly, learn how to respond with tact and in a timely manner to negative and positive reviews, and also understand the elements of effective service recovery so that you have the opportunity, as Jan Carlson would say, to turn those customers into lifetime advocates. I would welcome your feedback. You can reach me through this email address or my direct email address at rjohnston, that's rjohnston, at bloomintelligence.com. Thank you again for your time this afternoon. I hope you have a wonderful day. Bye for now.